Hello and welcome to another product feedback video. With us today is the Das Auto, the Volkswagen Golf R Mark 7.5. And the purpose of this video is actually to give you a review after owning the car for about a year and a half. And I know that the Mark 8 is slowly trickling into dealerships at the moment, so a lot of people might be considering picking up one of these. And to be real honest, it's actually why I reckon you need, or at least everyone should own a Golf R, at least at some point in their life. Now, this is the first time for the Product Feedback channel to do a proper car review, so your support would be greatly appreciated. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button and put a big like on this channel. So let's take a look at what this Golf R actually looks like. As you can see here, it's in the nice gunmetal grey. It's got a lot of these dark piano black accented shiny components. They're absolute scratch magnets, so I don't know, it looks nice, but in terms of reality of day to day, it will pick up a lot of marks. It's got a little Golf R logo here at the front. You've got these nice sweeping LED lights with the honeycomb on the inside. Looks really cool when it starts up, which I'll show you. It's also got obviously the Volkswagen logo here with all the different components on the inside for your lane detection and how far away you are from another vehicle in front when you're using adaptive cruise control. It's still continuing this nice aggressive front and sweeps up over with these silver mirrors. I think it looks okay. It would be nice to have a little bit sportier, a little bit more sharper, but it's a nice understated look. Taking a look at the side profile of the car, it still continues with this piano black finish across the door along the bottom of the car. It's got 19-inch wheels that look, I think, pretty aggressive factory. They also got some gloss black components on the inside. It's got these angular aggressive lines through here. It's got a nice straight finish along the bottom. Really cool thing is that you can walk up to these cars and just put your hand on here to unlock it and tap it to lock it as well, which is really, really neat. I'm 6'1", so about 187 centimeters. And in terms of the comfortable size to sit in the vehicle, I've got plenty of room and I feel like it is a nice place to be seated. Continuing around the back, it's got the quad exhaust that you'll notice that are real exhausts. You've got the little R logo here to signify that you have an R. The reversing camera is actually hidden inside the Golf badge. And to open up the boot, it's a matter of just pushing in and opening like that. To be real honest with you, like, I don't transport too much stuff with me. When I went on a long road trip, I had a couple of suitcases in here, you know, normal stuff like groceries and things, gym bags. I think the capacity of it is fairly reasonable for a size car like this, but I would recommend maybe putting in something like a mat to make stuff stop sliding around. But it looks nice. So here we are behind the Volkswagen Golf R. This is the 7.5 model. It's early 2019. So what is it like actually living with the vehicle, and what are you presented with every day when you sit in the car? Or Das Auto, as they like to call it. Well, to be honest with you, from living with the vehicle, the interior is actually really nice. It's got quite good quality. The materials around the steering wheel, the materials around the door trim, the door handles, it all feels solid. And when you're driving in the car, the exterior sounds are muffled. So you don't have this extreme, exterior sound being pumped through the car, which makes the feel a lot more luxurious. Something like you're driving, an expensive BMW. I did have a chance to drive the Arteon, which has got double glazed windows and obviously is a little bit more of a corporate type of car, but that vehicle in itself was a lot quieter, and it is kind of vibes onto the same segment, you can say, as what that car is. You're presented with this really nice high gloss black finish piano. It's got your digital display here for all your audio and controls of the car, and then obviously you've got a digital display up the front here which you can customize and change. This vehicle is actually fitted with a dyno audio system, which is the higher end option, and it sounds fantastic. There's a subwoofer in the back of the boot, which is only an 8-inch, but surprisingly puts out a very clear crystal sound. I was in a Range Rover, one of the higher end models, and you could crank up the volume really, really loudly and be able to have that clear lows, mids and highs, and this exudes on that same sound and that same form factor. But unfortunately, you know, because of that sound system, I reckon the car has started to produce a little bit of rattles. So we get a little bit of rattles now through the door, a little bit through the back. I'm not sure exactly what is happening. But apart from those type of things, you know, when you open up the window, you get a massive amount of wind chop. So I wouldn't recommend having your windows open driving around. But it is a really nice place to be. So in terms of dynamics, what does the Golf R really produce over models like the GTI? Now, I had a chance to drive the GTI, which is a front wheel drive. And to be honest with you, like, I could max the car out into corners, slam it around, and away I went. But it never really scared me. It never gave me that oomph factor that I was looking for. The Golf R, being all-wheel drive, produces a grip level that is very hard to explain unless you've driven one. So I used to own a Toyota Supra, which was a 400 horsepower rear-wheel drive car, and you would come around a corner and the rear end would slide out at 60 kilometers an hour and you would move off. This car here, you come to a corner and you just put it in and you just keep on accelerating and the car just grips. Just grips. It's even to a point where you don't even know where that limit is. I have hit it a few times, but instead of the vehicle actually sliding out from the back, what would happen is you would end up kind of understeering. So it's a little bit hard to make a judgment call on where the limit is on the car. And even after a year driving it, I'm still a bit hesitant of pushing it completely to the limit, just because I don't know how the car responds. The good thing is with the Golf R is you've got customizable options in terms of the drivetrain. So you've got obviously comfort, economic, normal, and race, and individual. Now, I had the car in race when I first bought the car, and I was using obviously the shift paddles all the time to kind of go through the gears, but it doesn't actually allow you to keep the gear. Like when you hit the limiter, it will automatically upshift, which is a little bit unusual for me. I would have preferred it to allow me to keep the gear. The other thing is that I actually realized that even though the suspension was in race mode, it's actually too firm. Like you would come around a corner and the car would bounce. So I ended up customizing my settings, and what I ended up landing on was the adaptive suspension to be in a more normal setting. Even comfort's not too bad, but it does offer a bit too much, I would say, body roll. But that really allows the car then to lean into the corner without you actually worrying about it kind of hopping across as you drive through. In terms of audio feedback, I've got to be quite honest with you, it's not the most outrageously sounding car when you're driving around. There is a fake audio that's being pumped through the sound system that gives you that feedback of you are actually speeding. And I've noticed when I turn that off, because the exhaust really didn't resonate through the vehicle, I left it on because it actually gave me that feedback that I was going really fast, rather than having to just kind of rely on me looking at the speedometer, because you don't get that audio feedback, which I think a lot of people complain with also electric cars, and hence what they're trying to do in that space too. The good thing is with this Golf R, it's fitted these amazing leather seats, heated seats I might add, really nice, comfortable. They're not a full bucket seat, but it does offer enough support side to side, and you can use it on a daily basis without you having to actually, be kind of cramped into a seat like how people would imagine. So if you have a choice of getting one, having the upgraded leather seats is the best option to go, except when it's like 45 degrees and you burn your ass off when you sit in the car. So in terms of traction control, there's actually three options. You can have traction control on, traction control slightly off, and traction control completely off. But the funny thing was, I would actually recommend having it that in-between mode, because one night when it was raining, like I'm telling you, it was pouring in rain, I went to a little road or a little strip around where I live in the city, and we launched the car, full launch control launch in absolutely pouring down rain, and the car just grips, as in just grips. So it's such a unusual sensation and such a confidence feeling that you can drive the car in most conditions without having to even worry about the grip of the vehicle. In terms of launch control, it's really quite easy. What you need to do is you turn the traction control off, depress the foot on the brake, and you rev it up. And away you go. And that was a lot faster than you're supposed to be going. So in terms of safety features, the good thing is this car comes equipped with a lot of options. So you've got lane assist, which obviously keeps the car in the lane, but I actually ended up turning it off purely because the thing was very aggressive. Like, even if you indicated to overtake, the car would really force you to turn in. You've got adaptive cruise control, which means that when you're going on a long drive, you set it to a speed that you want to go. It will maintain either that speed and vary it depending on the person in front, and actually come to a complete stop if that car slows down and stops, which is actually fantastic on a long drive. I drove about 800 kilometers and I had that on the whole way, and it just makes your drive so much easier. I can't believe I used to drive a vehicle without having that adaptive cruise control. So that's a highly recommended option. Now the good thing is that being that I'm 6'1", I've had a chance to drive a lot of vehicles, and what I found was sitting inside, especially these hatchback type of style vehicles, you feel quite cramped. Like the center console ends up kind of squeezing you in the legs. And with this car, and one of the particular reasons I really liked it was that it's a lot roomier than you would expect. So even driving like Mercedes A250s, there's a significant amount more leg room, and it makes the car just feel a lot more comfortable for you to just sit. So if you're a taller person, definitely have a consideration. I've got about a hand amount of headspace here, which also kind of means that the aggressive look of the car can't have a roof that's completely straight to really give that aggression. Has to have that slight curvature or that bubble. But practicality versus looks, you can make your own decision on that. There is one major problem with this car, and it is the turning circle. The turning circle on this car is atrocious. Like, I have had certain circumstances where I was trying to do a U-turn and I actually couldn't even do a U-turn completely to be able to safely turn around on a road. I had to stop, reverse back and go. I don't know why it is. On the other Golfs, I didn't have that problem, but in this vehicle, it's just something you have to become aware of and realize. The gearbox on this Golf R is fantastic. It's reminiscent of the Porsche PDK. So instantly engages. When you click a gear to go down, it instantly engages and it rev matches. And even in automatic mode or in sport mode, the car doesn't freak out of what gear you're supposed to be in. It will always maintain that gear that you would have put the car in yourself. So from a drivetrain perspective, I do know the older models used to have that hesitancy. Sometimes when you would take off, it would be a bit slow to take off. But the gearbox in this system, I can't fault it. Like, it is actually a very smooth and easy to understand gearbox to give you confidence when you're driving. With the exhaust, part of those comfort modes that you have, you can actually turn the exhaust down. So when you're in eco and normal and race, it does have a different sound. And it does produce that little pop or that little bang when you downshift, but not all the time. And I would have preferred it to be more aggressive. I would suggest, I think, to most people that having one of these cars, put an exhaust on there, do a tune, maybe put a blow-off valve, and the car will come alive in a completely different aspect than what you're used to. The tunability of these cars is amazing. Like, this is about 200 kilowatt. You can get up to 230, 240 with just a tune. And to put it into perspective, my 6-cylinder turbo was 270 kilowatt the wheels. And because of this gearbox, when you take off and you fly, it just shifts those gears. You just fly through the gear as though you didn't even change. It's just smooth. And because of that, it doesn't slow down, and it just keeps on pulling and pulling and pulling. And you'd be hard pressed to lose to many cars if they ever pull up to you at the lights. The really cool thing is that one of the safety features of the car is automatic headlight dimming. So if you're on a long drive and it detects a vehicle coming towards you and you've got your high beams on, it will actually drop. And the visual range and the clarity of the headlights are really, really fantastic. You don't notice how bad your old headlights are until you drive like one of these new modern vehicles. And the design or the indicator LED lights that turn at the back of the car makes it look really futuristic. And when you actually unlock the car and turn the car on, it does this little like light show, kind of like how the Audis do now, which is really nice, and it makes the car come a bit more special when you're about to go for a drive. The media control system on this car is really intuitive and very simple to use. I love the simple design, the layout, the way that they put everything in there. To be quite frank, I usually would just have AirPlay on my car hooked up internally that way and just run everything through my phone. And that works flawlessly. It's not wireless, but it still is good enough for what you need to do. It's got a little compartment down here to put your phone, but you can't really fit your phone in there, so I don't know what the point of that is anymore. One of the cool things is that you can actually have some of the metrics of the car displayed on the internal display. So your boost pressure, your power, your oil, so you can kind of get an idea, the G's that you're pulling in corners. It's got a lot of nice feature sets built into the vehicle itself. The climate control is nicely laid out, very simple to use. There's not too many physical buttons. Obviously, you've got the cruise control settings on the steering wheel, you've got voice control, which I hardly ever use, and then all the adjustments relating to the actual vehicle itself. Control display at the front, so you can customize it however you want.